Hello, I'm Jo, and today's video is a little bit different from my usual English learning content. Today's video is what you might call a bit of a brain dump. Now, I'll explain what a brain dump is in a minute. But first of all, what is the purpose of this video? What will you gain from watching this video? Well, I want to provide you with some English listening practice. Hopefully, this video will give you a perfect opportunity to practice listening to natural, unscripted British English speech. I'm going to talk to you like I talk to my friends and my family, and it might be a little bit tricky. There might be expressions that you don't recognise, but I'll try and explain them along the way, and I'll also provide a full transcript where you can go through and identify some of the expressions that you don't understand. This video is episode 1 of what I'm going to call Jo's English Brain Dump podcast. So what is a brain dump? A brain dump is an informal way of saying that you're going to get all your thoughts out of your head at once without worrying about order or structure or perfection. It means speaking freely, sharing ideas as they pop into my head, not editing myself too much, not following a script, and letting my thoughts spill out naturally. People often use the expression to have a brain dump when they feel that they've got lots of stuff in their head and they want to clear a bit of mental space. So basically what we're talking about here is me whittering on, thinking out loud, and sharing where my head's at as we come to the end of 2025 and move into 2026. But before I go any further, first of all, I'd just like to say a very big thank you to anybody who's watched my videos in 2025. I'm still a tiny channel, but it's been really exciting working on my videos and seeing things gradually grow, and getting to know you guys a little bit too. So like I said, this video is different from my others in that it's completely unscripted. I'm winging it. What does it mean to wing it? Well, it means to do something without much preparation. When you wing it, you improvise and you sort of trust yourself as you go along. You don't plan it in detail. So I've got a rough idea about what I'm going to talk about today, but I haven't made a solid plan. Winging it can be a little bit risky, but let's have a go anyway. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself because I don't think I've shared very much personal information about myself on my channel. I'm Jo and I'm 54. I live just outside London, in a little house with my 2 kids and my dog and my cat. My kids aren't really kids anymore. My daughter is just about to turn 18 and my son is 20. So really they're adults. My son is at university, but he's at home at the moment because it's the Christmas holidays. But he's away for at least half of the year. And my daughter is currently applying to university. So in September, I will be what we call an empty nester. An empty nester is a parent whose little birds have flown the nest, who have moved away. Now, I think the chances are that when they both graduate, they'll be back home because in England at the moment, the price of renting accommodation for young people is incredibly high, and most graduates usually end up going back home to live with their parents. So I won't be a complete empty nester. My little birds, my kids, will come back home when they need their washing done, when they need food, when they need money, when they need a roof over their heads. Meet Gizmo. This is my cat that I mentioned earlier, who's just decided to join us. Anyway, giving you a little bit of background on me. Many, many moons ago, which means many years ago, I studied Spanish and Catalan at university. And back then I did a little bit of English teaching. But then somehow I fell into mental health work, which I absolutely loved. And it's something that I still feel quite passionate about. In fact, I would like to maybe talk about mental health in one of these podcasts. If that's the kind of thing you might be interested in, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I worked in mental health, and then fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hit. I think a lot of us had a little bit of a rethink about our lives. And it was at this point that I decided to explore different opportunities. And I decided to get into working with English students on a platform called italki. Now, I still do a bit of work on italki, but I'm also opening up bookings on my website, so you can book conversation classes privately with me if that's something you're interested in. So I've been doing this for this is my sixth year now, and it's something that's evolved that I absolutely love. I work with people who are intermediate to advanced speakers of English. And in the sessions, we really work on conversation skills, on building connection, sometimes exploring some of the cultural differences between English speakers, specifically British English speakers, and other nationalities. We look at building confidence, and we have really good conversations. My students come from all walks of life. Some are professionals, some are creatives, some are students, academics, and we talk about things that are important to them. I feel incredibly fortunate to be doing the job that I'm doing now, because I get to meet really fascinating, interesting people from all over the world, from the comfort of my own home, and to learn about their lives and to help them on their English journey, to help them recognise their strengths, and to provide a safe place, a safe non-judgmental place where they can practice their English, they can play around with their English. And I guess what a lot of my learners are doing is trying to find their voice in English so they can express themselves, express their true personality in English, which is difficult in a second language. So obviously, as well as doing that, I also have a YouTube channel, and I have my website, and I also have an Instagram where I post lots of English learning content. And in 2026, I'm planning on continuing with the one-to-one sessions with learners, but I'm planning on also doing some group sessions on a monthly basis in a kind of book club format, looking at self-development books and using them as a springboard for conversation. These group sessions are going to launch in March, and we're going to start with the book Atomic Habits. I think Atomic Habits is a book that many of us have encountered one way or the other. It's been translated into many, many languages. It's a global bestseller. And I've personally sort of benefited, I think, from using it and applying it to my own life. And I think it can be applied to language learning. It can be applied to your work scenarios, family setups. So I think it's a good one to start with. If you're interested in these group sessions, then the best thing to do is to nip over to my website and to join my mailing list, because that's where I'm going to post updates and news about the launch. Also, you could send me an email. I'll include my email address in the description below. Or failing that, comment below if it's something that you might be into. So moving away from that a little bit, I wanted to ask you, what was your 2025 like? And what are your intentions for 2026, if you have any? I tend to call them intentions rather than resolutions, because I don't know about you, but I have a notoriously bad reputation when it comes to resolutions. My resolutions usually last about a week maximum. When I use the word intention, I think it describes more of a state of mind and it panning over the whole year, whereas a resolution sounds absolute and have to start it immediately. An intention sounds something that could be longer lasting. and a little less dramatic, I suppose, a little less severe. So I just wondered if you have any intentions for 2026 and what they are. I'd really like to hear them in the comments below. For me, 2025 was quite tough from a health point of view. I don't think I've really mentioned it on this channel before, but I have two chronic health conditions. I have an illness called rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm also diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is a mental illness. The bipolar is very well controlled. I take medication and I have lots of self-management sort of techniques which help me keep well. And up until recently, the rheumatoid has been fairly well controlled. But in 2025, I've had more and more flares of the illness. And yeah, I've had a lot more pain and a lot more fatigue. And it's quite draining. I know a lot of people have experience of chronic illness. And yeah, it's draining, and it can really affect your mood, and it can bring you down. So I think going into 2026, I really want to focus a little bit more on my physical health, looking after myself, building strength. When you get to my age, muscle is incredibly important, and I don't have much. So 2026 might be about building some muscle and building some strength, but also being more careful about what I'm putting into my body. My eating habits aren't the best. There's lots I could be doing when it comes to nutrition and improving what I'm eating. So yeah, they're kind of two intentions. I think one of my big fails in 2025, something that I want to pick up again, is learning Mandarin. I set myself a bit of a challenge in 2025 of working on Mandarin for at least half an hour every day. And until about June, it was all going really well. It was all going swimmingly. And whilst I was at a very kind of basic level, I felt that I was committed to it and that I was making progress. And then I'm not quite sure what happened, but everything ground to a halt. It all of a sudden stopped. And I think now I can barely remember a word. And I feel like since then I've lost everything that I learnt. So in 2026, I'd like to pick this up again. And I'd also like to make sure that I'm practicing my Spanish and book a few conversation classes myself. So these are intentions rather than resolutions. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm making a resolution where I will pass my HSK Chinese exams by the end of the year. Rather, I am saying I will go back to half an hour of Mandarin every day. I intend to practice my Spanish speaking skills more. I intend to practice what I preach. So in the comments, do share some of your intentions for 26. I'd be really interested in hearing about what you'd like to focus on and how you would like to grow in 2026. It could be related to your English. It could be completely unrelated to your English. Just tell me something that you want to work on. Now, some of the things that I'd like to talk about in future episodes are, like I said, mental health. I'd also like to talk about AI, because that's something I'm particularly interested in, books, being a parent, and another thing that I'd like to talk about is lifelong learning, which is something that is incredibly important to me. I've actually made a video about that before, but I'd like to do a deeper dive into that. If you've got any ideas for things that we could cover in the podcast, then do comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. I think we're going to wrap it up there. To be honest, I don't feel entirely comfortable talking about myself, but I've had a go. I've stepped out of my comfort zone a little bit and done it off the top of my head. And that was my first brain dump. Hopefully it wasn't too chaotic and all over the place. And don't forget, you can download the transcript for this episode if you find it helpful. But before I go, I'd like to wish you a very happy, healthy and peaceful 2026. I'll still be making my regular videos alongside these podcast episodes. So if you're interested, make sure you subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's video, give me a thumbs up. It really helps. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.